Okay, so now I want to talk to you about walking. So walking is obviously something that we all do every single day, but a lot of us walk and move terribly, and that can actually have a significant impact on how much pressure and force then gets absorbed through our pelvic floor, our hips, our back, all of those corset muscles. So it's really, really important that you consider a couple of things when you are walking. So I like to go through this with all of my clients who have any pelvic floor concerns, but then any client who has hip pain or back pain, even foot and knee pain. It's a really, really wonderful thing to try and incorporate this into how you're moving, how you're standing, how you're walking every single day. So I'm going to be walking back and forth, so just bear with me with this video. So first thing I want to talk about is how you're moving. A lot of people are quite inherently stiff through their mid-spine, sort of around where their shoulder blades are, around where their bra strap actually sits. And this is actually a really primary area where force is absorbed when we're walking, when we're moving. So naturally, when our foot hits the ground, there's a ground force reaction that actually reverberates and is absorbed through our leg and up into our body. Now that force is actually absorbed through your mid-spine in between your shoulder blades. There's this big essential sponge that helps absorb force. Now if your mid-back is really quite stiff, that force can't be absorbed effectively in that area, so then it actually gets absorbed back through your low back, your hips, your pelvic floor, your core, back down into your legs. So ultimately, if you're stiff through your mid-back, you feel heavier on your feet, and that will have a corresponding heaviness effect onto your pelvic floor. So anyone with an active prolapse or incontinence, this is really, really important. So I'm going to walk away from you with the stiffness of what a lot of people look like. And then I will walk back to you with the amount of movement that we're meant to have. So the area where I'm talking about is in between your shoulder blades here. Now think of pushing a pram or a shopping trolley or holding your dog on a lead. You're not actually able to twist and move as freely as you would otherwise. So visualize pushing a pram, okay? And I'm not moving. I'm not moving at all through my back, okay? Now naturally, what we're meant to have is this twist and recoil mechanism whereby I get this lovely twist through my back. Essentially, my arms just relax and sway as I'm walking. So what it's meant to look like is we're meant to have a bit of a twist and a sway. A lot of people feel if they're quite stiff, they talk about this feeling like they're walking on a catwalk as a model. You don't have to be that overt. Another really, really good tip I say is visualize having a torch coming out of your breastbone, and that torch is going from 11 to 1 o'clock when you're actually walking. So when you're walking, you're wanting to think 11, 1, 11, 1. Now in terms of the twisting, if you're feeling like this is incredibly awkward, there could be a couple of things happening. The first thing is you might be actually twisting way too much. The second thing is you're putting one foot forward and you're putting the same shoulder forward. So what's actually meant to happen is one foot and the opposite shoulder is meant to actually twist. So make sure that you're doing those things, and make sure that your head isn't actually twisting as you're moving as well. Now the second part of walking is thinking about how you're actually holding yourself. Now, it's really, really important that your pelvic floor and your core can actually support you when you are walking, but thinking about isolating your pelvic floor while you are walking can be incredibly difficult, and you're probably going to be doing a contraction that's actually an awful lot stronger than what you probably need to be doing anyway. So what I really, really love to do is actually not cue you at all from your pelvic floor, but actually cue you from this corset area. So I'm going to step back so you can see what I'm doing. So what I want you to do is put your hands on your breastbone and on your pubic bone, and I want you to visualize that there's a string, a fishing line attached to those 2 points. Now I want you to consciously soften those 2 points. So if I stand side on, you can see what I'm doing. So there I am held, there I am soft. So I'm not arching and rounding myself, but I'm just softening those 2 points together. Now what I consciously want you to think about is pulling those 2 points apart. So again, side on, there I am soft, and there I am held. So I'm essentially getting you to visualize pulling those 2 points apart so that string becomes a little taut or tight. Another really lovely visual that I like to talk about is think of yourself as how a ballerina would hold her or himself versus how a lot of people hold themselves, in that they're quite heavy and compressed. The reasoning behind doing this is In activating these muscles to actually create that, you inherently draw up your pelvic floor naturally. A lot of those postural muscles that are responsible for creating that lift actually have attachments down and into your pelvic floor. So if you can actually create this lift and drawing up, the pelvic floor and that deep corset muscle really, really gently will lift and support you as well. So when you're walking, you're thinking of those two things. The first thing is the string, so keeping that string nice and taut and tight. And the second thing is that twisting, the 11, 1, 11, 1 when I'm walking. So I'm just going to walk back away from you and I'll walk towards the camera how I'd like you to be thinking about walking. So think of the string, so just gently allow it to relax, then think tighten, drawing up and lifting, and then think 11, 1, 11, 1, 11, 1. So that's how I'm wanting you to consider walking. Think about the string or the ballerina or the lift, however you want to think about. Create space in your core in this cylinder that will naturally draw everything up really, really gently, and then think about that gentle twist, that gentle swagger, if you like. You'll seriously thank yourself, your body will feel much, much better for it, and you won't feel anywhere near as heavy at the end of the day.